one told me about the family dinner, and I didn't know it would hurt as much as it did until that night. I was standing in my kitchen, waiting for the kettle to boil, watching the steam rise slowly, when my phone buzzed on the counter. I picked it up without thinking much, expecting a simple message or maybe a photo of the kids. What I saw instead made my hands feel heavy. It was a picture of my family sitting around a dinner table, smiling, plates full of food, candles lit. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. I stared at the screen for a long moment. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. I just felt still, like something inside me had quietly stopped moving. I placed the phone face down and turned off the stove, even though the water had not finished boiling. The house felt larger all of a sudden, quieter than it had been a few minutes before. I have lived alone for some time now, so silence is not new to me. I know how to sit with it, but that silence felt different. It felt like a question that had no answer. I sat down at the small kitchen table and folded my hands in my lap, trying to understand how I could be missing from a moment like that without knowing it was even happening. I am a mother. I raised my children with everything I had. I cooked, cleaned, worked, worried, and loved them in the quiet ways that often go unnoticed. I never expected perfection from them. I only hoped we would always stay connected, even as life changed. I knew marriage would shift things. I accepted that. I told myself that stepping back was part of loving them. My son is my youngest. When he was little, he used to follow me from room to room, asking questions, holding my hand. I remember brushing his hair before school, tying his shoes, packing his lunch. I remember the pride I felt watching him grow into a kind and capable man. When he married, I welcomed his wife with an open heart. I tried to give her space, respect her boundaries, and trust that we would find our own way as family. At first, things were fine. We shared meals, exchanged small gifts, talked politely. But over time, I noticed changes. Visits became shorter. Phone calls became less frequent. I would hear about events after they had already happened. I told myself not to overthink it. People get busy. Life moves on. I didn't want to be the mother who complains or demands attention. Still, there were moments that stayed with me. A birthday I found out about too late. A school play I saw pictures of online instead of in person. Each time I smiled and said nothing. I didn't want to create tension. I believed love meant understanding, even when it hurt. The night of the dinner, I made soup for myself. It was simple and warm, but it tasted flat. I ate slowly, looking at the empty chair across from me. I wondered if anyone noticed I wasn't there. I wondered if my absence felt natural to them, like something that no longer needed to be explained. I waited for a call that night, a simple apology, a small explanation, but the phone stayed silent. When I went to bed, I lay awake longer than usual, listening to the quiet hum of the house. My thoughts wandered back through years of family dinners I had hosted, making sure everyone felt included, even when it was difficult. I couldn't help but ask myself when that effort had stopped being returned. The next morning, I woke up with a dull ache in my chest. Not sharp pain, just a steady heaviness. I made coffee and sat by the window, watching the day begin. People walked by, laughing, talking, living their lives. No one could see the weight I was carrying, and I realized how invisible feelings like this can be. A few days later, my son called. His voice was cheerful, normal. We talked about small things. I wanted to tell him how I felt, but the words stayed trapped inside me. I was afraid of sounding weak or needy. I didn't want to make him feel guilty. Before I could say anything meaningful, the conversation ended. I sat there with the phone in my hand, feeling the moment slip away. As time passed, I began to understand something painful but important. It wasn't just about one dinner. It was about realizing that I was no longer automatically included, that my place in the family had quietly changed, and no one thought to explain it to me. That realization hurt more than being left out ever could. Another dinner was planned weeks later, and this time I was invited, but the invitation felt careful, almost formal. I thanked them and said I would try to come. After the call ended, I sat alone and thought about how different it felt from before. I realized I didn't want to go just to fill a seat. I wanted to be wanted. That evening, I decided to do something small but meaningful for myself. I cooked a proper meal, set the table nicely, and lit a candle. I ate slowly, appreciating the quiet, reminding myself that my worth does not depend on an invitation. I am more than my role in someone else's life. I still love my family. That love hasn't changed. But I am learning to love myself with the same patience I have always given others. I am learning that it is okay to feel hurt without turning that hurt into bitterness. It is okay to step back without disappearing. No one told me about the family dinner, and yes, it hurt deeply, but it also taught me to listen to my own feelings instead of pushing them aside. It reminded me that respect and care should go both ways, and that silence, while peaceful, should never erase a person's place in the world. If you have ever felt forgotten or quietly left out, I hope you know this. Your presence matters. Your feelings matter. And even when others fail to see you, you are still whole, still worthy, and still deserving of warmth and understanding.